All right, welcome to Friday Night Live. I'm the Pep Man, Matt Morrow. Very excited to be with you all here tonight. As usual, we have gone out to a game, and I have not seen many scores. So please share your scores and your thoughts in the comments. If you have not watched Friday Night Live before, this is your show. Whatever you post is what we talk about. So while everybody's getting online, I will share that we went to Marvin Ridge. This is my first time at Marvin Ridge for a game, and Marvin Ridge was hosting Sun Valley for the second time this season. In a rare instance, these two have already played once this season in a non-conference game. This game tonight was the conference game. The non-conference game, Sun Valley won. I can't remember the exact, so I think it was like 28-14 or something like that. So the second time around, it's always hard to beat a good team twice. Marvin Ridge is a good football team. And, coming into this one, I was really excited to see a lot of good, talented players live. Throughout the year, I write for Prep Reds on North Carolina, and I see players. I watch a ton of film. And a lot of these guys I had seen on film, but it was really cool to see them up close and see some of their strengths and what they do best on the field. So the game got started with a bang. Sun Valley won the toss and they wanted the football, and we saw why, because the first play from scrimmage, quarterback Noah Lineberry found his receiver Jaden Morrow Jones, number one, on an 80-yard touchdown pass. It was a really nice play. Had a great design, and he came open in the middle of the field and just outran everybody. He is a fast player. So it took a 7-0 lead, and so we were thinking maybe we're going to have a wide open game, but it quickly settled down into a a tough defensive kind of football game. Marvin Ridge, to their credit, they didn't let that touchdown knock them off. They came back, took the lead 10-7, and then it was just a lot of good defense. There was a lot of good defense on both sides. Guys just not giving up big plays, tackling well, good physical play up front. It was a battle in the trenches. I think both defense and offensive lines are very good and very well coached. Sun Valley was able to get the lead back in the third quarter, where quarterback Noah Lineberry for Sun Valley was able to find Morrow Jones down in the red zone on a nice kind of a fade pass. They gave him a 13-10 lead, and then in the fourth quarter, Sun Valley had the ball for the majority of the quarter. Took a lot of time off the clock. Marvin Ridge did mount a drive toward the end of the game, but the quarterback was picked off by number 28 for Sun Valley. Really made a nice play on the ball down on the 5-yard line. And then Sun Valley was able to run the clock out. Talked with Sun Valley coach Ryan Smith. He was really fired up after the game. And then our player of the game was Jaden Morrow Jones, the receiver number one. So those interviews are out on social media right now. And please go check them out. As soon as this is over, pictures will go up. Highlights will be tomorrow because we got a lot of work to do on the bowl game show, which will come up very soon, possibly on Sunday. Just stay tuned for the announcement on the Queen City Senior Bowl social media on when the show will come out. And it won't just be one show. We're gonna release this in several different videos. So once you see the release, you'll understand what I mean. I think this will be a kind of a better way for a message to get out for the 80 young men that were selected for the Queen City Senior Bowl. Well, I should say, 79. If you watch the interviews tonight, there was one that was late. So you can feel free to check that out. But anyway, all right, we've got 9 comments in the bucket. So let's see what you guys want to talk about tonight. All right. First of all, we've got Damius. I think that's how I say that. North Gaston. All right. North Gaston leading off tonight. Nice. 21-7 win over Stuart Kramer. Yeah. That's a good segue because Coach Wilson, North Gaston's head coach, is one of the coaches selected for the Queen City Senior Bowl. So it's great to see that those guys have got a win back. I think they started the season, pretty good, and then they kind of has a rough patch, but to get back in the win column, he's a very good coach, and he's going to do really good things with that program. And then Stuart Kramer, we know they're young and they're, trying to gain more experience. So no shame in losing that game. I think both teams are improving. They're on an upward swing, and we're going to see good things from both of those programs going forward. All right, Kim Watts is here. Number 2 tonight, Kim. Yeah, thank goodness it's Friday. Y'all probably hear it. I'm tired. I've been burning both ends of the candle all week long. I'm beat. But it's good to see you. Appreciate it. There he is, Jadarius J-Man McCombs. Talented running back at Mooresville is tuned in. I think he had 2 touchdown runs tonight. Mooresville with a big win over A.L. Brown. I think it was 49-7 was the final. I don't know if chat administrator's here, but I think that was the final. But great job, J-Man. As usual, be excited to see those highlights, man. Lanesha Dow checking in. Good evening. Good to see you. Appreciate you watching. Coach Tatum coming in here with a Dodgers walk-off. That's great. I had no idea. I didn't even know World Series started tonight, but congratulations to the Dodgers. That's all you're going to hear me say. Oh, Dudley, much of the same. What was the final score? I hadn't seen that one. We're going to go through the ticker here in a minute because we don't have a lot of comments coming in tonight. It was a kind of a I don't want to say it was a slow week tonight, but there weren't a ton of compelling games, at least in Charlotte. Outside of the city, there were a lot more compelling games that we're going to get to in a little bit, but it may be why we're a little lighter on the comments right now. But we've got more people trickling in because I got more comments flying in now. So let's keep them coming. Armani Bird, our Clover man, he said took care of business on the road against Nations Ford, 27-20 in the first half. Went on the 26-0 run in the second half, win 53-20. Huge game next week against Catawba Ridge. Yeah, Catawba Ridge is real. They're well coached. Coach Liniak and those guys do a great job. And they've got some talented players, that can make plays. So that'll be an exciting game in the upstate of South Carolina. I'm glad to see Clover was able to get that done. Nation Ford, playing tough under Coach McManus in an interim coach situation. So good job for Clover, man. That's great. Mr. Chance Ford checking in. Big win for South Point, 47-0 over Forest View. It's a good way for South Point to bounce back right there. I know, you, Mr. Ford, had a big part of that on probably both sides of the ball, as you always do. So congratulations. And I think with the results in the Big South tonight, I think South Point might be in first place based on those results. But we'll take a look at that here in a little bit. And then Armani also saying Big Shelby and Coach Dub still own KFC. Don't hold your breath. I can't get Big Shelby to come and get free chicken wings, man. You want him to give you something? Hey, ain't gonna happen, man. Raymond McKinstry said, game. I guess you mean the game of the game next week is Hickory versus Statesville. Yeah, that'll be a good game. I think I was talking about Statesville last week, and the thing with Statesville is they are a very good defensive team. So it'll be interesting to see if they can slow Hickory down enough for their offense to take advantage of what they do so well defensively. I'll have to look up the history between those two teams because I know those coaches have been there for the past couple of years. I'd love to see what history tells us about this matchup. So, um, but yeah, that's a good look ahead of next week. There's gonna be some really good games next week. Next week is conference championship week for those that haven't clinched. They'll be settled. Well, no, I take that back. I forgot we added another week into the season, so we'll have to kind of account for that and see which conference races are on the line next week, and then with the extra week added, will these other games maybe affect some of these other conference races? So there'll be more to come on that, but that's a good start right there. Yeah, Kings Mountain beat Ashbrook. I did see that score because Joe Hughes was there. That score, I believe, was 27-19. Kings Mountain over Ashbrook. And just my quick thought without knowing, what happened in the game is, Kings Mountain scoring 27 is big. I think if you would have said that Ashbrook was going to score 19, I would have said that they were going to win because Ashbrook is very strong defensively, and I think they would have been able, just pregame, thinking that they would be able to hold Kings Mountain to 2 touchdowns. But Kings Mountain scoring 27 is a good sign for them. Not knowing how those 27 points came, but I presume they were offensive touchdowns. But all's not lost. I think the big thing now for the Big South, and we're talking about the top 5 teams. We're talking about South Point, Kings Mountain, Hunter Huss, Crest, and Ashbrook. No one is going to want to see all those teams in the first round of playoffs because they're battle tested. And, that's one of the things that we say about Charlotte a lot when Charlotte gets into the playoffs. And if they're not playing each other, and you start playing other areas of the state that aren't as battle tested, then that's when you start to see, upsets via seeding. Because, out of those 5 teams, there's only going to be one conference champ, and then the second place team might get one home game in the first round. But then those other teams are going to be playing on the road as low seeds. And, other areas of the state are not going to want to see, those teams from the Big South, matched up with them. Because they know they're a lot better than what their seeding says. And that's going to be something really interesting to watch here in about 2 weeks when the seeding comes out on, I believe it's November 9th this year. All right, Coach Peavy checking in from Corvian. Corvian still remaining undefeated on the season, 48-14 over Pine Lake. Yeah, I've been writing about Cam Johnson a lot. He's having a really good season. As a running back, over 1,000 yards on the season. Yeah, that's great. That's great. We talk about big games. Corvian and Mountain Island will play next week. And I mentioned on Twitter that Lake Norman Mooresville will be on the short list for us to attend. The Corvian Mountain Island game will be on the short list for us to attend as well. I say short list, but now as I keep looking at games, the list is getting longer and longer. But yeah, Corvian's having a really, really special season, and they are definitely a title contender in the 1A ranks for a state championship. Kim, it's been a very long week. One of my own issues is that I take on too much, thinking that I am Superman. I can do anything that is put upon my shoulders. And, I didn't get there yet, but I will get there. I'll meet the deadlines that I got to meet for certain things, but man, yeah, that is my own, I can't even think of the word, self-sabotage. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah. But if you're out there, have an adult beverage for me. Alex Wiley, the 4th, checking in. Big time. Yes, this was a big win. I did see this score, 14-13. We considered going here tonight, but I wanted to see a couple teams up close that I hadn't seen yet this season. I've seen Olympic twice, so we didn't go there, but he had the game winning touchdown. Oh man, that's awesome, man. Whenever you post it, when you get video, please tag me, so I can share it and so everybody can see how that game turned out. That's awesome, man. That's a big win for Olympic. It puts them, I think, in a pretty decent place to possibly host a first round playoff game. Right now Palisades is favored to win the conference championship. So Olympic, is in a good spot to possibly finish second in the conference. And depending on where the RPI lands, it could get a home playoff game, but we'll take a look at RPI again next week on Football Focus Weekly, which will be back on Wednesday night. We made a change, this week to Monday because I had some things going on Wednesday, and Monday was the best day for most of us to come on. So Wednesday night we'll be back on our normal time at 8:00. We'll take a look at RPI and see where everybody stands. Let's see here. Jonathan Mitchell says, Pep, I don't know if I've seen a band better than Harding. What a show tonight. I do know those guys a little bit, and I will tell you that their band, they have some really good people behind it, people that understand what they're called the Band of Gold, and there's a lot of tradition and a lot of pride, and they have people that lead the band that understand what that tradition is, and they put a lot into it, and they are good. They are very good. There are a lot of good bands in Charlotte. I think I made the comment that Mallet Creek's band was very, very good. I think Hopewell's band is very good. I'm trying to think of other good bands that we've seen this year. Those are the two that come to mind right off. I think did we see West Charlotte's band? I think West Charlotte's band is pretty good. We saw them. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good to see the numbers in the band starting to come back up. We started to see numbers dwindle for marching bands, and a lot of the funding was cut, which is one of the reasons for that. But it just enhances the game day atmosphere. Like tonight, Marvin Ridge and Sun Valley, both bands were there. Like some games you see one band, and then there are some games where the band's not there at all, and it's just like a whole dead atmosphere. So yeah, I'll pass that on to him. Appreciate that. Joe Hughes, man, let us know, man, what happened to Kings Mountain Ashbrook. You might have posted it after this, but I'm just now getting to it. Todd Bush, yep. Oh, goal line stand on 4th and 1. Wow. We saw Ashbrook against Crest, and we saw them in their red zone package, and they run some good stuff down in the on the red zone. So that's a good job for Kings Mountain. I think Ashbrook is well coached. I think the offensive coordinator has done a good job with putting those guys in positions to be successful. So that's a strong thing to get it done right there. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Dudley, man. 48-0 over Southern. Yeah, that's machine rolling right there. Dakota McCann, appreciate that. I don't know what that's for, but appreciate it. Joe Hughes, there he is. William Vaughn. Now, you talk about a hot name in recruiting. It is that young man right there. He is a physical specimen at 6'4". I think it's 215 pounds. He has been picking up Division I offers, it seems like, every other day. 5 catches for 216 yards and a touchdown. Wow, those are some big numbers right there. And that's going to be a young man that is going to be highly sought after on the recruiting trail, and an essential piece for the offensive success of Kings Mountain. And that might be, what's opening up their playbook for, more success. And, to pair that with a strong defense, they could be one of those teams that, like I was just talking about, that a first round team, they may finish third, fourth in the conference. First round team don't want to see Kings Mountain because that's not the kind of team they are. They're a much better team than that. Coach Leggett, yes, sir. I appreciate seeing you, man. Those guys, like you said, they look good up front. And I liked your I heard your company endorsement on the first downs, man. That's smart. That's smart. I heard that. I was like, man, that's a good idea. But it's always good to see you, Coach. Absolutely, man. Coach Tatum, Walkertown, 38, McMichael 6. Called the Dogs all played a ton of JV in the second half. That's a receiver. I'm sorry. Mitron Curry, close to 1,000 yards, setting all-time school record for receiving in a season. Of course, Cam Kelly had 100 yards and a touchdown. Man, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And the turnaround Walkertown has made this year is incredible. And Coach Honeycutt deserves to be Conference Coach of the Year. I don't know if he'll get it because, it's a lot of good teams in the conference, but it's the improvement has been exponential in the program. And Coach Tatum, you're a big part of that as well. But I've told you that before. If you guys don't know, Coach Tatum is the offense coordinator at Walkertown and doing an excellent job this season. And those guys, are looking to be a pretty good playoff seed themselves. But we'll take a look at that on Wednesday night, like I said. Let's see here. John Ross said, today is my birthday. I'm 35. Well, happy birthday, John. That's awesome, man. That's good, man. It's great to I know it's late, so hopefully you had fun for your birthday. I wish I could put up some balloons or something. I probably can. This software is pretty good, but I ain't got that good yet. But happy birthday, John. That's awesome. Why are you laughing, man? Are you laughing at what I said earlier? Because you ain't never came over here and got no free wings. That's your own fault. And you're not even that far away anymore. That's crazy. Jonathan Mitchell. Oh, thank you for this update. Trey Blakeney, 7-7 for 163 yards and 5 touchdowns. Man, yeah, he's having a special season. He's actually absolutely having a special season. And, Austin P, is where he committed to go play college football. And I know they've got to be ecstatic because, Trey's improvement is exponential. It is really, really good to see. I remember when I had time, I don't have time anymore to go to JV games on a regular basis, but a couple years ago, I was doing a JV game of the week, and I went to Huff, and they were playing North Mech, and North Mech's JV was pretty good that year. And the Huff people said that we've got this young man. I think he's going to be a really good guy after. Oh gosh, who was the quarterback before Trey? I'm getting old, but anyway, he was the next guy up. And he went out there and, he just controlled the game. He was just a field general out there. And that's, what's translating now is in his play. He's just supremely confident. He knows where he's going with the football. He knows his reads. He trusts his guys. He has good accuracy. He runs when he needs to. He doesn't panic. He's just the ultimate field general operating that offense. So that's really awesome right there. Obviously great average and great efficiency for sure. J-Man coming in. We'll play Lake Norman for the conference title next week. Yep, that's another score I was going to get to on the ticker, but yeah, South Irondale was leading that game for a while over Lake Norman, and Lake Norman came back to win that game 29-24. Another game that I'll have to check out the highlights on. But Lake Norman with the freshman quarterback Caden Kraft is doing some special things, man. And you talk about recruiting. He's gonna be another hot one that starts getting some attention because not only is he talented, but he's also, I think he's 6'4", 6'5". Um, and when you see talent meet size, that's where recruiters start salivating and you start seeing early offers. So that'll be a big one. We might be there. We'll figure it out. Oh, Mr. Lackey from Hickory checking in. Hickory 49-0 over Fred T. Ford. And then Mr. Lackey's son, Isaiah Lackey, 13 carries, 133 yards, and 4 touchdowns. You talking about efficiency. That's a really great efficient game right there, making every carry count. And Hickory's a machine. We talked about them playing Statesville next week in a big game. So there it is for the Big South. Joe Hughes saying if South Point wins out, they'll take the top seed in the Big South. And I think South Point has played all of the top teams in the conference. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I saw that somewhere. I can't remember who their last game was against. Of course, chat administrator is saying that Lake Norman at Mooresville is the place to be. That'll be a huge crowd. It'll be a huge crowd. Mr. Johnson from Northwestern Bears. Tough loss tonight versus Robinson. Yep, that was going to be one I shouted out. Both teams played great and fought hard. Shout out to Robinson on winning the SBC championship. Go Trojans. Yeah. I believe their final score was 20-10. That's where Shaquan was tonight. And Shaquan has done this game. He did both games last year between Robinson and Northwestern Bears. And I always give, the guys the choice of where they want to go. And he wanted to go to another game at first, but I told him, I said, I don't know if you want to go to this one. So he looked at the schedule, and I knew he was going to choose it. And he chose it. So for this game, we'll have at least highlights for sure. We'll see if we get pictures. Usually Shaquan gets the games pretty early, so he'll get pictures of the players as well. So if he does have pictures, we'll get those out. And hopefully we can get them into an album that we can share so everybody can take a look at that. But yeah, Jam Robinson, I noticed that Dominic Testa, I don't want to say slot receiver because I know they move those guys around a lot, but he was the main receiver tonight that had the big plays. He scored 2 touchdowns in that game. And I think there was one like literally right before the half that I think gave Robinson the lead going into halftime, and then they were able to just kind of manage it throughout the second half. So we had a lot of talk about J.M. Robinson on the show this week because there were some people that were saying that, I had him ranked too high, and, they were picking on the schedule and all that. But, good football is good football. And they went into a tough environment at Northwestern Bears, who was, chomping at the bit because it was a conference championship game. And they found a way to get it done. So, that game will go a long way in helping them get ready for the playoffs. And then next week, they play a Mount Pleasant team who is probably right there as far as top teams in Cabarrus County. And Mount Pleasant won their conference championship tonight, beating North Stanley. And Mount Pleasant, I believe, only has 1 loss on the season, maybe 2. But Mount Pleasant, played Northwestern Bears. They lost 16-14. So I think next week can be, another interesting game between Robinson and Mount Pleasant. So, the good thing for Robinson is they're facing their toughest competition of the season going into the playoffs. So, they didn't design it this way, but their schedule is naturally ramping up. And that's what you want to do. You want to, get your test in before the playoffs, play your best going into the playoffs. And then, you don't have that shock to the system once you face a team that is on your level and you've been playing, lesser than stellar teams for the majority of your season. So that's good stuff right there. Chat administrator wants to shout out J-Man with 2 touchdown game tonight. And then tight end Gavin Barber also had 100 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Wow. Nice. Good job, Gavin. I don't know. Might be a Pet Man player right there. That's good stuff, man. And this is an endorsement for Pet Man's players. If you have a player that has had a really good game, whether you're a coach or you're a parent, or you're the player yourself, send us a message with your film, tag us, send your stats. The stats really help out along with the film, and you'll be eligible for Pet Man's Players. Um, it's something I've done for years, and we'll continue to do because, to be honest with you, and I've had several college coaches tell me this. College coaches don't have time right now during the week, especially because they're coaching college football. So the few hours that they do divvy up and a lot for recruiting, they use social media. And, to be honest with you, and I'm not saying this to be, braggadocious or whatever, but we have relationships with a lot of college coaches in the Southeast, and, they follow us and they look and see who's being featured. And then by natural, flow of information, they see you if we feature you. And, I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute. I've seen a lot of recruiting services around this time of year start peddling all their stuff. And I just want everyone on here that's watching, if you're thinking about wanting to get more recruiting exposure, be smart in the choices you make, because, a lot of people on social media are not who they say they are. And this will lead into a bigger topic that I have next week, but trust genuine people, trust genuine sources. You know who we are. We are legitimate. We don't hide by anything that we do. You're not, sending a message to some random, logo with a name that, you don't know who the face behind it is. You can't trust people like that. And I'll leave it at that for now because we're on Friday Night Live, but we'll have more to talk about with that for sure. Marcus Belch coming in. Yep, we talked about it, Marcus. Yeah, there's been a lot of good things that have come from that game. Here's another one. Joe Hughes, Kingdom Mountain offensive line, kept Armstrong clean and diced him up for 263 passing yards. Yeah, there you go. And a lot of that was, Devon, who was who you shared earlier, Joe. Kings Mountain defense also made timely stops. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. Karen Belk, our buddy. Rocky River came out fighting, held Independence to a field goal on the first drive, but ended 44-0. Jaden Jones, can't wait to see his stats. Just a little overthrew on a few long passes. Indy defense swarming a lot. Yeah. Independence. I don't want to say they've been out of the spotlight, but I kind of feel like since they lost to Charlotte Catholic, people have kind of put them into a different tier than the top teams in Charlotte. We just have to remember what they did last year in the playoffs. If you remember, a lot of their playoff success was on the road because they were a low seed, namely because of RPI situation. And then they, even though they lost that regular season final game to Butler, which put them in a lower seeding, Coach Simmons said something smart that we talked about on Monday on social media, and that the RPI system is just flawed, and there's a human element that it doesn't have. And when we looked at it on Monday, there were teams that were out of the playoffs that we know with the eye test, they deserve to be in the playoffs. And then there were some teams that were, barely in the playoffs that you don't necessarily know if they should be there. But I would endorse, something that, puts a human element into certain things. I think the RPI, is good in some ways because it gives us something concrete that we can lean on. But I think if there's a difference in, if it's really close on certain teams being in or out, there should be some type of human element that goes into it. I don't know what that is, but there are people smarter than me that can come up with something. But I say that to say, don't forget about Independence. They're going to be once again one of those because they're not going to win the conference. Charlotte Catholic will win the conference tonight, officially with their win over East Meck. So Catholic will be the conference champs. So don't forget about Independence because they're going to be in that same position they were in last season. And last year they made it all the way to the Western Regional Final where they lost to Weddington. So there you go. Thank you, Karen. Trayvon, yep, we mentioned Statesville Hickory next week a couple times. Dudley Eastern Guilford for the conference title next week as well. We got some numbers on Jaden Jones, 206 rushing yards tonight on 13 carries. Wow, this efficiency is great. This is great stuff, man. Excellent. Good job, Jaden. Kim Watts is endorsing the Philippo Berry Band. I don't know if I've heard of Berry Band. I think about that. Yep. We talked about North Gaston over Kramer 21-7. John Henry Stewart. Yes, Cox Mill got one tonight. This was a battle between two teams that had not won a game this season. And I think, John, was it your son that won the game with the touchdown pass? I think I saw that to Jordan Cleaves. I think it was a 65-yard touchdown pass that won the game for Cox Mill. It was 38-35. I mean, you know, it briefly crossed my mind to go to that game tonight. But we've seen both of those teams already, so that's why we didn't go. But I had a feeling that it was going to be a fun game, and it's good that Cox Mill got one in the win column. Trust me, I've had a couple seasons where when you're 0-4 and it's getting late in the season, and heck, my what year was that? Junior year? Yeah, junior year. We hadn't won a game. And we had been in close games. Like we had lost like 4 games by a field goal or less. And we were playing Piedmont on Halloween night at Harding. And we won in overtime. We should have gotten overtime, those guys, but we won in overtime. And I tell this story all the time. For some reason, Channel 3 was there. And I think Channel 3 was there because we were in a similar situation like Cox Mill and Hickory Ridge. Both of us had not won a game. And I think they came just to see who was going to win and, thinking it'd be a nice story. And, yeah, it was. It was. So I know how you feel, Cox Mill, and I'm happy for you, man. That's for sure. I need something, Joe. I need something. Shannon Stowe. West Charlotte, great win over Chambers, 32-7. Junior Dante Nichols. Yeah, I like Dante. I've written about Dante before on Prep Reds on North Carolina. I think he's a heck of a wide receiver. West Charlotte has a couple of guys that can get it done receiving the ball. Of course, Davion Jones, who's now playing some defense. Rakim Finch, I think, is a very underrated wide receiver for West Charlotte. So they have a lot of targets over there. But I love Dante's game. I think Dante can get involved in the run game as well. I think we saw that when he scored against Cox Mill when we were there earlier this season. So, yeah, he's definitely a player to look out for. And West Charlotte with a very good win right there. Another team, going to 3A, talking about playoffs that you can't forget about. Thank you, Tad Hus. Thank you, Jonathan. My gosh. I saw Tad Hudson when they had to play him in the playoffs go down to Richmond. And, he, even though Huff lost that game, he put on a show, man. And I had a buddy that told me, he said, look, because I think that was the week Mallard Creek and Vance at the time were playing in the second round of the playoffs that year. And he was like, look, you want to be here when Tad, has this big game and he's young and you could say you were there. So that's why we went down there. And he's up in North Carolina now, getting it done. So good stuff. Yes, Jacqueline, we talked about South Point. Mr. Ford posted that score earlier, and South Point is in a really good spot to win that Big South Conference. Chair Administrator saying South Iredale quarterback left the game with an injury, up 25-14. Oh, no. I hope he's okay. Yeah, Trayvon saying the same thing. Um, yeah, in high school, it can be a big drop off if you lose your main quarterback. So hopefully the young man will be all right because South Iredale is having a really good season, especially when I said this before. From when I saw them this summer to where they are now, that is awesome. It is awesome. And I hope that young man will be okay because I think South Iredale, when they get into the playoffs, they're gonna be a tough out. Let's see here. Jesse, I'm not gonna post that. If you guys are on Facebook, you'll see Jesse's comment there, but I'm not gonna post that. Chat administrator, Lincoln 20, Maiden 19. Think that sets up a three-way tie. Yeah. Maiden just had the big win last week over Bunker Hill. Now Lincoln comes in here and gets a big win. That's a big win for Lincoln. They've been knocking on the door of trying to get that big signature win because they've been trying to rebuild that program. That is a proud program up there. And I know they are excited. I know they're excited up there for that one. That's a big one. Let's see here. Mr. Fields checking in. 76-0 Providence over Garinger. Number 11, Jacorius Fields on opening kickoff ran it back for 85 yards. 2 forced fumbles. Well, make sure you tag me. I will say he is having a really, really good season. I had some people say some really nice things about him as well. I think he's a heck of a player. I think I just wrote about him. Did I just write about him today or yesterday on Prep Red Zone, North Carolina? Yeah, he's definitely a very good defensive back. I'm glad he had a big game for a big win for Providence for sure. Let's see here. Oh, thank you. I'm glad he's better because we were there when he got hurt, so I'm glad he's feeling better. I'm glad he had a big game. That's a good feeling. That's a good feeling. You guys have a good weekend, man. All right, I'm on here too long tonight. Let's go to the ticker real quick. Let's see. South Lake Christian over Asheville Christian 30-7. We talked about Lake Norman over South Iredale. That final was 29-25. Anson County with a big win over West Stanley 38-15. Weddington over Cuthbertson. This seals the conference championship for Weddington. They beat Cuthbertson 33-7. Let's see here. Asheville School big over Hickory Grove. Is that right? 42-0. Wow. Huff over Harding. The final was 55-0. Talk about Olympic winning over RGKL 14-13. We were at Sun Valley Marvin Ridge. That was 13-10 Sun Valley. West Moran big over Concord 42-0. That's a good win for West Moran right there. Monroe seals their conference championship 56-0 over Piedmont. East Lincoln big over North Iredale 50-7. South Rowan, good win for South Rowan here 33-7 over East Rowan. Porter Ridge with a non-conference victory 42-17 over RS Central. Central Bears in the win column. Good win for them 23-14 over Carson. Good job, Coach Belwalk and those guys. Providence Day big over Charlotte Latin 52-7. High Point Christian over Covenant Day 49-21. North Lincoln over West Iredale 35-14. Forest Hills big over Parkwood 50-7. Mallard Creek over West Meck. I believe that final was 40-0. South Meck over Valentine Ridge 50-7. Charlotte Christian over Country Day 42-7. Community School Davidson over Christ the King 14-10. Shelby over East Gaston 55-22. Burns all over Turville 75-0. Let's see. Lexington over Norfolk ran that close one 34-33. Talking about Martin Pleasant over North Stanley. My buddy Bobby Collins at South Point and my buddy Brad Van Horn getting it done. Big over Dreher. I think I said that right. 51-0. South Point clinches their region in South Carolina. Man, that's awesome. Catawba Ridge over Rock Hill 26-21. Lake Norman Chart over South Stanley in a good game 23-21. Indian Land over Fort Mill 20-6. Albemarle over Union Academy, 7-0. That might be a slight upset right there. Bunker Hill, close one over Newton Conover, 38-37. Bandy's 42-0 over West Caldwell. Crest 35-6 over Hunter Huss. It's a win of note right there. South Caldwell over Alexander Central, 30-17. And we talked about Clover over Nation Ford. West Lincoln over East Burke, 13-6. And that's what we got on the ticker. So, all right. Pictures from pictures from Sun Valley and Marvin Ridge will be out on social media here, on Instagram and Facebook in the next few minutes. We'll have highlights tomorrow from Sun Valley and the Marvin Ridge Football Focus Weekly. We'll be back on Wednesday, 8 p.m. on these same outlets. Make sure you tune in and check us out. We'll go through RPIs again. And we'll preview the big games for now the next to last week of the end of the season. And we'll figure out where we're going to go next week, too. A lot of big games. So, everyone, have a good weekend. Stay safe. And thanks for watching Friday Night Live, which is once again sponsored by Craig Faile, owner of Blackbridge Financial. If you have any financial needs, check out Blackbridge Financial. They'll give you a lot of tools and tricks to help you manage your money the best way possible. Have a good weekend, everybody. Appreciate it.